You have to start inside the parentheses. 2 plus 1 is 3. So square the 3 and come up with 9. Multiply it by this 4 to get 36. So 3 plus 36 plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. 42. Answer on this one should be 7. Four plus 6, that's 10. Square it to get 100, and multiply it by 5 to get 500. So you end up with 506 minus 200, and that's going to be 306. Pick a number from 1 to 5. The winning number is 2. Homework. If you have all the work shown, then bring it up. If you don't, then you have to turn it in late. Put it in the crate. 7 people here, 7 had homework. That's 100%. Very good. Here are the answers. I've got the work on here too, but we'll just look at the answers to start with, then we'll go back and look at the work if we have to. Number 1 is 2 plus or minus I. 3, or not 3, but 2 is negative 3 plus or minus 2I. And 3 is negative 3 plus or minus I square root of 3. Problem number 3. Okay, so you had the negative 12 for the discriminant.
Yeah.
And you set it up with negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 over 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you take the I out?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so anytime you have a negative number underneath the square root sign, get rid of that negative, and on the outside to the left of the radical sign, you put an I. Because I equals the square root of negative 1, so you're essentially factoring out a negative 1 when you put an I out to the left. And then from there, I have a review set up for this next part. It's a few slides down. But the square root of 12 can be simplified. It breaks up as 4 and 3, because you can take a perfect square of 4 out of the 12. 4 and 3 will give me 12. This is a perfect square, so it reduces down to a 2. Square root of 4 is 2. And then from there, you can simplify everything. 2 goes into this, this, and this. So you can divide all 3 of these things by 2. When you divide the bottom by 2, it's just gone. That becomes a 1, so we don't write it. And divide by 2 to get a negative 3. 4 is negative 2 plus or minus square root of 2. 5 is 5 plus or minus I square root of 7 over 2. 6 is 3 plus or minus I square root of 31 over 2. 7 is 7 plus or minus square root of 61 over 2. 8 is a negative 2 or a negative 3. 9 is 4 or negative, or not negative, but positive 2. 10 is 3 plus or minus the square root of 3. Today's objectives: solve quadratic equations with real coefficients that have complex solutions. Here's the review on simplifying radicals. I'm sure this will help. So the square root of 24. You want to see if you can simplify this, and to do it, you got to have your perfect squares starting with 4 and then up to 9, 16, 25. 36, 49, 64. That should be far enough. The key to doing this is the following. Whatever is under the square root sign, cut it in half. Half of 24 is 12. And then try to find 12 on that line of perfect squares on the right. 12 falls in there. What that means is that the only possibilities you could have for dividing into 24 would be 9 or 4. And you have to choose the highest perfect square that goes in. Will 9 divide into 24? No. Will 4 go into it? Yes, so you can do that. So that's how you know how to break it up. Now 4 times what is 24? 6 is right. So there's the breakup. And we used a perfect square here, so we find what the answer to that part is. The square root of 4 is 2. So 2 square root of 6 comes from the square root of 24. Here's your list of perfect squares. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. Half of 48 is what? 24, and it falls in between 16 and 25. So you can only use this stuff if it's possible. Will 16 go into 48?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. 16 will go into 48. So there's your highest perfect square. What is 16 times, or what? 16 times what is 48?
3.
3. What's the square root of 16?
4.
4 square root of 3 is the simplification of square root of 48. There's 18. So 4, 9, 16, 25. What's half of 18? It hits it perfect. So that's the one you're going to use. Square root of 9. 9 times what is 18? Square root of 9 is what? 3 square root of 2 is the simplification of square root of 18. Your list of perfect squares: 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. Half of 63 is 31 and a half. 31 and a half falls in there. So that means anything above that on the list is possible. Will 25 divide evenly into 63? No. Will 16 go into 63? No. What about 9? Yes. So it's 9 and 7. Square root of 9 is 3. So 3 square root of 7 is the answer. Answer to the bonus is 65. Try this one and bring it up. Your list of perfect squares: 4, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64. Half of 75 is 37 and a half, so it falls in there. So anything above in that list is going to be possible. Will 36 go into 75? No. Will 25? Yes. So 25 and what? 3. Square root of 25 is 5. 5 square root of 3. In a case where you already have a number up against a radical, what you do is you still simplify this and keep the 2 off to the side for the time being. So break up the square root of 12 as 4 and 3. Now simplify the square root of 4 to be 2. And now you can multiply these two numbers together. Example 1. we have negative x squared minus 3x minus 2 equals 0. I have to find the discriminant first to see if this is going to be a real answer or a complex answer. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. And in your equation, a is a negative 1, b is a negative 3, and c is a negative 2. So this is a, b, and c. Plug that into your discriminant. So that's the square of negative 3 minus 4 times a, which is negative 1, and times negative 2, which is the c. Simplify that, and you come up with 9. And you have 3 of these signs in here. That's an odd number, so that means it's going to be minus. 4 times 1 times 2 is 8. So you have a discriminant of 1. That means the answer is going to be real. It's 0 or higher, so it's real. Now if you go into your quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, you got to plug in what you know, but don't forget, you've already done this part. It came out to be what? 1, yeah. But we can put in negative 3 for b, and notice you already have a negative sign in the formula, so it's a negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 1. We just put what we found here under the sign. On the bottom you have 2 times a negative 1. Simplify this. A double negative 3 is going to be positive 3. Square root of 1 is 1, and on the bottom you have a negative 2. So once you get down to something like this, there's no radical term in there that you can't simplify. You can actually work these out. You have to do it once with a plus, and then once with a minus. So on the top there you have 3 plus 1, that's 4, divided by negative 2 is negative 2. And on the bottom 3 minus 1 is 2, divided by negative 2 is negative 1. So your answers are negative 2 or negative 1. Here's example 2. We'll do another one. Negative 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. What's going to be your a, b, and c? Right, negative 2, 3, and 4. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. Your discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So plug in a 3, square it, minus 4 times the a, which is negative 2, and times the c, which is 4. Now simplify that. You have 9 and a double negative in here, so it's going to be plus. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. So we end up with 41. That means the answer is going to be real. It's 0 or higher. Now go back and plug in to your quadratic formula. Remember, it's negative b out front, and we have a 3 for b, so it's negative 3. We've already accomplished what's under the square root sign. It was 41. And on the bottom you have 2 times a, that's a negative 2. The only thing you can simplify here is, for right now, is the bottom. That's going to be a negative 4. Now you can't leave your answer with a negative on the bottom of the fraction. So to get rid of that, what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So to get rid of that negative sign on the bottom, you would have to multiply the top and the bottom by a -1. So if you do that, there and there, the bottom becomes a +4, and on the top you have a 3 plus or minus a negative square root of 4. You have to have your discriminant first, and your A, B, and C are -1, -4, -2. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, so we would have a -4 squared, and then minus 4 times -1 for the A and -2 for the C. That's going to be 16 minus 8, which is an 8. That means the answer is real. When you plug into the quadratic formula, you start with a -b. So it's a -4 since it's already negative. Plus or minus the square root of 8, that came from here since we already did it. And then on the bottom, 2 times a -1. Simplify to get a +4 from the double negative. Plus or minus the square root of 8 over -2. I can simplify the square root of 8. What perfect square goes into 8? 4, yes. So we'll have 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 square root of 2 over -2. And of course the square root of 4 is 2. Now, just like before, don't leave a negative number in the denominator. Also, you can divide out something from all three of these items, which are this, this, and this. What can I take out of this, this, and this? I can take out a 2, and since I need to get rid of that negative sign on the bottom, instead of dividing everything by +2, I should divide by what? -2. So if we divide it all by -2, that divided by -2 is -2. And then we have plus or minus. If I divide 2 by -2, I get a -1. But I don't write the -1, I just write the negative sign in front of the square root of 2. And that kind of looks like the sign itself, so I need to put it there. And then on the bottom, if I divide by -2, it's just gone. So that's what I'm left with.